What is up, guys? It is Insight Gaming for all of your gaming needs and insight. Yes, I do have another channel, and you'll probably hear from that. But if you're not, be sure to subscribe. And my other channel is rapping, so I will put that in the featured channels if you want to check me out. But basically, if you're here from the rapping channel, be sure to subscribe. There will be many more videos like this, and hopefully I can help people out with, I don't freaking know. That was a really corny intro, but anyways, let's just go ahead and get right into the video. As you can see here, I have the 3DS XL limited edition Pikachu version, and the only game I have on it is Mario Kart 7, and then I also have Pokemon Blue and Yellow downloaded, so not really important in the game collection. The rest are all chips, so we're just going to put this over here in the background so you guys can see that. Okay. Let's get into the 3DS game collection. I'm going to do the ones without art first, so that way, stuff, and yeah. First game we got here is Rayman 3D. Rayman 3D is a pretty decent game. I mean, I think it was near the launch date, if not on the launch date, that the 3DS came out. The graphics are alright, but all in all, it's not a terrible game, and if you can find it for as cheap as I did, I would recommend picking it up. If not, go ahead and take a pass on it, because definitely not worth $30 to $40, but it is worth the $5 that I paid for it. So, if you don't know what Rayman is, it's basically a platformer game that is a lot of fun, and it was one of the very original platformers on the PS2. I believe it was the PS2, and I know that they made some games for GameCube. One of the games for GameCube I own, and it's like a racing game, and that game is amazing. Alright, so next here we have Ice Age Continental Drift. I'm really into picking up bargain games if I can find them, in case you guys cannot tell. Ice Age Continental Drift is just kind of a bunch of mini-games that feature the Ice Age characters. It's nothing really more or less than just mini-games, no story really to Ice Age, and that's about it, so yeah. Next up here we have Asphalt 3D. Asphalt 3D is a racing game, and it's not the best racing game, but it's not the worst racing game I've seen. Basically, you just race. That's all I really can say about it, because, I mean, it's a racing game, and I'm not a big, huge fan of racing games. Next up here we have The Hidden. The Hidden is, basically, I should really stop saying, it's basically a horror game, which I have not played because I hate horror games. I picked it up because it was a bargain, and so I own it, but you can't get me to play horror games with $1 million. Next up here, another game we have not played, but I picked it up simply because it was cheap, is Pro Evolution Soccer 2011. I have never played soccer in my life. I do not like soccer. I do not watch soccer. I picked it up because it was cheap, and I have yet to get around to playing it. I will probably play that, but there's no way you can get me to play The Hidden. Next up here we have Dream Trigger. I have not played Dream Trigger yet. I have heard good things about it. I have also heard bad things. I think I popped it in my 3DS and played it for maybe about 10 minutes. From what I saw, it looked interesting enough, but it's not a must-have, but if you can find it for cheap, I would recommend to go ahead and get it. Next up here we have Pilot Wings Resort. Now, I found this game for definitely a steal. This is by far probably one of the best games that showcases off the 3DS's 3D power. I absolutely love this game and what it can do, and I love everything about the game. I would recommend picking it up, and I'm not sure if that code is used, but I don't use it, so if you guys want to use that code, go for it. Next up here we have Puppies 3D. Another game I picked up because, well, it was cheap, and I love dogs, so yeah. Funky Barn, I have yet to play this. Picked it up because it was cheap. Basically the same story with a lot of these games, but yeah, that's about it for that. Next up here we have Boulder Dash XL 3D. I picked this game up because I saw it, and I was like, oh my gosh, the nostalgia. The nostalgia of Boulder Dash is amazing. I remember the old... Stop saying I remember the old Boulder Dashes, and they were just great on the computer, and basically, there's a retro mode to it, and then there's the new mode. Both of them are very fun. Both of them bring back nostalgia. It's just one has better graphics than the other. Very fun game. I would definitely recommend picking it up if you could find it cheap, especially if you played the old ones and you want the nostalgia back. Next up here we have Crash City Mayhem. I do not really, as I said, I don't really like racing games or games that you just run cars into things, and it's just not my cup of tea, and I haven't played this game yet, so we're going to skip doing a little bit of review during this. Next up here we have Finding Nemo, A Big Blue Escape. You do not know how long I looked for this game. This game in particular. I loved the Finding Nemo when I was a little kid so much that when I saw this game that it was actually a thing, I had to get it. Now I don't think I got my 3DS until 2014 because I heard all the bad things about it, how bad it was doing. I got a Vita instead, which I still have, but I'm currently trying to sell. And basically, Finding Nemo, Escape Big Blue, a bunch of fun mini games, nothing really to do. I mean, there is stuff to do with the storyline of Nemo, but there's some cutscenes from Nemo, and it's just basically mini games about like how you escape the dentist office and stuff. It's a very fun game. I think I beat it in like 3-hour trip, but besides that, there's really, I mean, nothing to do. So if you can find it cheap, definitely recommend picking that up. If not, oh well. The next two games we have here, I do not actually have the official artwork for, but I did get some printouts of the artwork, but I'm very bad at printing out stuff, so you're probably going to laugh at my artwork job here, but oh well. Here we have Driver Renegade 3D. As I said, no idea how to do printouts, and as I said, I'm not really a big fan of car games where you race and stuff, so not really much I can say about this. I don't really remember it. I know I played it, but besides that, no idea. Next up here, Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion. I was a huge fan of Cartoon Network, and these are just some, like, of the old nostalgic characters that I remember. The Powerpuff Girls, Flapjack, Chowder, and Blue from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Dexter's Laboratory, Billy and Mandy, and the Grim Reaper, all those who are very fun, and I picked this game up on the Wii for about $10 a couple years back, and I loved it, and then I saw it on the 3DS, and I was like, oh dang, I have to get this, especially with it being this cheap, and I would definitely recommend picking this up. It is a very fun game. Next up here, we have Lego The Hobbit. Lego The Hobbit is a fun game to play. It's basically the original Lego formula and everything. You just go around, you hack and slash a little bit, you get some characters, you have a good time. It's the original Lego formula, and if you're a fan of Lego games, I would definitely recommend picking it up. I think it's the only game. If not, I have 2 Lego games on my 3DS, but it's very fun, and I would definitely recommend it. Next up here, we have Nicktoons MLB 3D, another baseball code for you guys, but I bought this game on the Xbox 360 a long time ago, and I really enjoyed it. I was very disappointed when I got it on the 3DS. It was not that great of a game, and I'm not really sure why or where they went wrong, but it's not as fun on the 3DS, and I can't really say that I recommend it to anyone. I do recommend it if you are a fan of the older, like Ren and Stimpy, and SpongeBob and Jimmy Neutron, and if that would bring back nostalgia, I would definitely recommend getting it. But besides that, I cannot recommend getting it. Next up here, we have another game that I won't play because I'm scared to death of everything. Spirit Camera. I got this new for $5, so I picked it up. And again, I will not play this because I'm scared of legit everything. Next up here, we have Generator X. I have not played this immensely. I've played it a little bit. I would not recommend it. It's not really all that fun unless you're a fan of the cartoon series, which I have never watched. I just picked it up because it was cheap and I thought it'd be a fun time, and I was wrong. So, yeah. Next up here we have Pets Countryside. Again, I love pets a ton. I cannot tell you my love for pets. But sadly, this game kind of fell down. I would recommend Nintendogs over this game, but I found this game for like $5 new, and I would recommend it if you can find it that cheap, but if you can't, don't get it. Next up here, We have Angry Birds Star Wars. I have no idea why I have this game. It's probably the best Angry Birds, but I hate Angry Birds, so can't really talk much about that. Next up here we have Beyblade Evolution. Now, I was a fan of Beyblade when it first came out. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I still have the tops up in my room, and I really loved the show. I really loved everything about it. I have not watched the Beyblade, like, Shogun, whatever, where there's little, like, people on the tops. I've seen them at the stores, but it doesn't really interest me anymore as I'm getting older. And this game was very fun for when I played it, and basically it was a really good time. You do have to use the camera, but I used it at stores and stuff, and I had no problem with it whatsoever. Next up here, we have Paper Mario Sticker Star. Buy this if you're a fan of Paper Mario. It definitely does not live up to the other Paper Marios, but if you do like Paper Mario, it'll give you a fun time for a couple hours. Me personally, I liked Paper Mario, and this was kind of a letdown because it's not as good as the other Paper Marios, and I definitely wouldn't recommend picking it up if you're expecting it to be as good as the other ones, but I did pick it up because I got it on sale, so. Next up here we have Naruto Powerful Shippuden. Now, anybody who knows me knows I love Naruto. Naruto was like one of the very first animes I watched, up there with Pokemon, and I never really got into Dragon Ball Z, but Dragon Ball Z. I found Naruto to be extremely amazing, and this game was a huge disappointment, let me say that. This game was absolutely terrible. I played all the Ninja Storm series, all the Ninja Revolution series for the Wii, and then the Storm on the Xbox 360, and one of them being on the PS3 because it only came out for the PS3. But basically, this game was a huge disappointment. I would not recommend this game to anyone. Next up, Rise of the Guardians. Another licensed game that falls flat of being playable, even. I did not like Rise of the Guardians. It was a very, very terrible graphics. I couldn't stand to look at the screen for more than 5 minutes at a time, and I do not recommend this game. Next up here we have a game that really kind of brought me into the 3DS. This kind of showcased the 3DS off. The 3D in this is pretty good, but it's just the fact that you can fit so much data into one tiny chip and it to be playable. So this is a huge expansive game. This is the game that got me to get Super Mario World on my Wii U, and I do not regret picking this game up at all. This was an amazing platformer, and I would recommend it to anyone. Next up is Shinobi. I want to play this, and I want to beat it. The fact is, it's way too hard, and there's really no difficulty settings. I would recommend it, though, if you can find it for cheap. It is a very fun game, and I'm enjoying my time with it. Next up, we have Scribblenauts Unlimited, because Scribblenauts, I mean, who wouldn't want to summon a dog to go fight a polar bear in the middle of Africa? That's basically Scribblenauts wackiness. It is a very, very fun game, and I would recommend it to almost anyone. Next up here, we have another game about dogs and cats, Nintendogs, plus cats. I bought this game simply for the nostalgia, and I think that's kind of the reason why I bought the other Pets games, simply for the nostalgia. Because I remember playing the original Nintendogs. I had the Chihuahua edition on my DS, and I loved that game until my save file got corrupted. I played it so much, and this was a huge letdown. I'm sorry to say, but it was. Next up, we have Super Monkey Ball 3D. Very fun if you can find it for cheap. Basically, it's just a bunch of mini-games. It does not live up to the GameCube Super Monkey Ball if you played that. And it's just kind of a meh game. It's very fun for the first couple of hours, but you'll get bored with it easily. The controls aren't very intuitive, and there's really nothing special to say about it. That's all I have to say about it. Next up here we have Shifting World for the 3DS. Shifting World is actually a very fun game. Basically, what Shifting World is it's a black and white puzzle platformer. I really loved this game. I beat it, and it is by far it's one of the hardest platformers / puzzlers I have ever played, but it is very fun, and I would recommend it if you could find it cheap. Basically, I would have paid full price for it. It's that great of a game. It's really, really fun. Next up here, we have regular show Mordecai and Rigby in 8-Bit Land. I've never watched the regular show in my life. I I think I've seen maybe one episode, like half of an episode. I don't like. I didn't like the game. The game was like actually absolutely trash. I mean, it was the controls weren't very intuitive, and it was a bad game all around. Next up here we have Crush 3D. I am actually very big into puzzler games, which you probably wouldn't hear from most people my age, but Crush 3D was definitely a very good game. It was a GameStop exclusive, don't quote me on that, but it was a very, very good game, and I very much enjoyed it. I beat this one along with Shifting World, and I would recommend them to anybody willing to play a puzzler. Next up here we have Adventure Time. Explore the dungeon because I don't know. I got this because I heard Adventure Time, Hey Ice King, Why'd You Steal Our Trash was a very good game, and it took on Zelda too. I feel like this one was trying to be a little bit like Zelda, or like a dungeon crawler, but it was a huge letdown, and I would not recommend this game. It's alright, but all in all, it's not a gem on the 3DS. Next up here we have a game that probably came out at launch, don't quote me. It was either very close to launch or on launch. It's called Steel Diver. Very good if you have the patience. I do not have patience. I've heard many people enjoy it, and I've heard many other people just not enjoy it whatsoever. Next up here we have basically my blockbuster games, which are Animal Crossing New Leaf. I love Animal Crossing so much. I own the GameCube version, I own the DS version, I own the Wii version, I own the 3DS version, and I'm not sure if the Wii U version came out. I think it has. I think it's like Amiibo Festival or something, but I have not gotten it, and I want to get it, but I would recommend Animal Crossing to anybody, boy or girl. It doesn't really matter, and it is a great game. Now, as I said, I'm a huge fan of Animal Crossing. I actually pre-ordered the limited edition of this. Don't say you're almost 17 and you're playing a home designer game. Again, it is Animal Crossing. If you have not played a quirky Animal Crossing game, you have not lived. You have no childhood. But I love Animal Crossing, and that's my opinion on it. I would recommend it to anybody, boy or girl, doesn't matter who you are. It's just a great game all around. Next up, probably my favorite RPG on this system, Kingdom Hearts 3D Dream Drop Distance. Probably my favorite RPG just because I love Kingdom Hearts, and I would recommend it to absolutely anyone who's ever played a Kingdom Hearts, or just anybody who wants to get into the series. I love Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 on the PS2, and this was a great addition. I hated 358 Days Over 2. I did not like that. I did watch the cinematic when I bought 1.5 or 2.5 maybe, but I thought Dream Drop Distance was a great game, and I would recommend it. Next up here is Pokemon X. I'm a huge fan of Pokemon. I have been ever since I was like 4. I will probably never stop playing Pokemon because Pokemon is just amazing. I would recommend Pokemon X to anyone, and I also have Pokemon Y here. They're basically the same game, just with a different roster. So I would recommend these to anyone. If you want to get them, you should. If you've ever played a Pokemon and want to relive some of the nostalgia, you probably won't be living the nostalgia with Pokemon X and Y because they're extremely easy and a lot different. I did love them. I love the character customization, and I was hoping for them. I was hoping for character customization in my Pokemon Alpha Sapphire. Yeah, Alpha Sapphire is what I have. I was thinking Omega Ruby, but I was like, no, I got the one with Kyogre. I really don't like the Mega Evolution, and I really don't like how they didn't implement character customization into this. Yes, Mega Evolution brought huge metagame to online multiplayer, but it just kind of ruined the whole Pokemon formula. And that's kind of my thoughts on it. I love Pokemon, and I'll probably never stop playing it, but those are my thoughts on it. And yeah. Next up here is, I knew I had another Lego game. Lego Chima, Laval's Journey. I have no idea what Chima is. I have no idea who Laval is. I had no idea what his journey was going to be, but this is one of the funnest is not a word, but this is one of the funnest Lego games that I have ever played in my life. Lego Chima Laval's Journey, you're going to be put into a world, if you haven't seen the TV show, you're going to be put into a world that you have no idea what's going on, but there's just so much stuff going on. It's just so fun to play. And there's so many new controls, and it has a very immense tutorial, and it's a very good game. I would definitely recommend this to anyone. Next up here, we have probably one of my favorite games on the 3DS, which is also a remake. Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. I definitely want to pick up Ocarina of Time, but I cannot find it for the 3DS. But I love Majora's Mask. I have beaten this on the Nintendo 64, and I've also beaten this on the 3DS now, and I would recommend this to anyone. If you don't know what Legend of Zelda is, definitely start with... You can start with Majora's Mask. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can. I would recommend starting it with Ocarina of Time, where it all started. Next up here, we got 2 more Pokemon games. We have Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Gates to Infinity, and we have Pokemon Rumble Blast, which you can't see because my camera doesn't want to show both of them. But Gates to Infinity was a huge letdown for me, loving the Mystery Dungeon series. I would not recommend this if you were a fan of the Mystery Dungeon series, or if you were a fan of Pokemon. This is a huge letdown to me, and I didn't like it all that much. I know there's a lot of people who thought it was a great addition to the Mystery Dungeon series, but I liked the nostalgia, and I guess I didn't like the very good graphics going along with the Mystery Dungeon series, but it was very fun. Pokemon Rumble Blast is fun for maybe like 6 hours till you beat the story mode. I played the original Pokemon Rumble on the Wii, which was just an arcade beat-em-up, basically. This one is basically the same thing, but with more of a storyline and more Pokemon in there. I would recommend it if you're a fan of Pokemon, but if not, you probably won't know the characters and you won't find any enjoyment out of it. So if you like Pokemon, pick it up. If you don't, I'd say go ahead and give it a pass. And yeah. Next up here, we have Tomodachi Life. I bought this just because people said it's so much like Animal Crossing, you have to pick it up. I am not disappointed that I picked it up. It is a very good game, and personally, it's a great game. You just go around, you put people in this village, they interact with one another, and it sounds really boring. It sounds kind of like The Sims, but it's a very great game. Next up here, we have my last game, Etrian Mystery Dungeon. As I said, the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon that came out this year was a huge disappointment. Well, I guess it didn't come out this year. It came out in like 2014, and I haven't picked up the new one. Etrian Mystery Dungeon is amazing. I love Etrian Mystery Dungeon. I need to play the other RPGs in the series because Etrian Mystery Dungeon had me on the edge. Not just with the storyline, but with when I was facing a boss, and I loved this game. I powered through it. I powered through it, and I would definitely buy a sequel if they ever made Etrian Mystery Dungeon 2, Return of, or whatever they would name it. But I definitely would recommend this game to anyone who's a fan of RPGs or a fan of the Mystery Dungeon series. It is definitely a great pickup, and definitely well worth your time and money. And that is all for my first game collection. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button if you're even with me anymore. This ran into almost 30-minute long video. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. Be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, although I've already said that. And this has been Insight Gaming. Thank you guys. Bye.